Hey, hey, hey! Welcome back to Suicide Notes with Dr. Lulu. What's going on, guys? All right, so I think this is going to be the last on our series of verbiage or lingo that's related to suicide. So last week we defined suicide, we talked about suicide thoughts, we talked about suicide attempts. This week I'm going to be reading from my book. I bet you didn't know I'm also a best-selling author. Well, I forgot to tell you that. My bad. I am also a best-selling author of 3 books. This is my second book. It's called A Teen's Life. The beautiful thing about this book is you can get your own copy. Yes, right there in Abuja, Nigeria. Just call Chris at 0803 786 6124 and grab your own copy. 0803 786 6124. You can grab your own copy from Chris right there if you're in the Abuja area or really wherever you are in Nigeria. We'll send you your own copy. But I digress. So today we're going to talk about some more words that have to do with suicide. The first one is suicide behavior, which is kind of similar to suicide attempt, but not quite. So suicide behavior is an act or a group of activities that can lead to suicide. A group of activities that can lead to suicide, or a group of activities that people who kill themselves engage in. A group of activities that people who kill themselves engage in. For instance, I bet you didn't know that people who are suicidal give away their stuff. They give away their stuff. A lot of them start to give away their stuff. A lot of them start saying goodbye. A lot of them start collecting or buying the means to kill themselves, like buying sniper or buying a gun, like getting some pills together, suicidal behavior, or simply even writing a suicide note. I picked the name of this show on purpose, writing a suicide note. Children will start asking questions about suicide. Start asking questions about death. We're going to get to that in the future episodes, but just remember that. So that's a collection of behaviors that people who want to kill themselves engage in. Then we have something called a suicide contagion or contagion if you're potato or potato, right? It refers to the process by which the exposure to suicide or suicidal behaviors within one's family, one's peer group, or through the media reporting can result in an increase in suicidal behaviors and suicide in persons at risk. That's a lot of words, but the bottom line is when you expose people who are at risk to a lot of news about suicide, they can become suicidal. People at risk. Note that, not everyone. So it's called a suicide contagion. Much like COVID-19, right? It's a contagious infection. So suicide can be contagious, okay? Then there is a suicide cluster. And a suicide contagion tends to lead to a suicide cluster. And a suicide cluster is defined as a group of suicides or suicide attempts or both that occur close together. They occur closer together in time and geographic location than would normally be expected based on the statistical prediction or community expectation. Bottom line is, when you have a higher number of suicides in a particular location, more than is predicted for that location, like what? Is there like a prediction? There should be none, right? But when you get too many of those, it's called a suicide cluster. So suicide contagions or contagious tend to lead to suicide clusters. In San Antonio, Texas, where I live, between November 2019 and February 2020, we had a major suicide cluster. We had 7 suicides in the space of about 4 or 5 months. So that's not the norm, I guess is what they're saying. So that's all I have for today. So remember, we talked about suicide ideation, which is thoughts about suicide last week, suicide behavior, suicide contagion, and suicide cluster today. And I read those from my book called A Teen's Life, and you can get your own copy right there in Abuja if you dial 0803 786 6124. My name is Dr. Lulu, aka the Malnutrition. I'll see you next week. Bye.